Looking for my chapter 9 problem shells. Okay, now let's look at how we're going to work some problems associated with direct materials and direct labor variances. So we have SP or SR. P is used for materials, R for labor and overhead. Actual, A stands for actual, S stands for standards. Actual price or rate, actual quantity of input, actual hours of input. SQSH, standard quantity allowed. This is the formula for standard quantity allowed. Standard usage per unit of product times actual units produced. Okay, this is my formula for the rate or spending variance, price variance. I'm using AQ next to the AP. Doesn't make any difference what side you're putting it on. This is the quantity efficiency variance. So, Guillermo's Oil and Lube Company. We have oil changes. A typical oil change takes 24 minutes and 6.2 quarts of oil. Actual production was 980 oil changes. Calculate the number of quarts of oil that should have been used for 980. So to do that, we want SQ. So standard usage per unit is 6.2 quarts per change times 980 changes. And that's going to give me a number of 6,076. So that is how many quarts of oil I should have used. Okay. Now calculate the hours. See this? It says hours of direct labor that should have been used for 980 oil changes. So the first thing I need to do is I need to convert 24 minutes. These are my two standard usages. I need to convert 24 minutes into an hour. So 24 minutes per hour times 60 or divided by 60 minutes in an hour. And that's going to give me 0.4 hours. Standard usage. Okay. So to calculate SH, standard hours allowed, that's going to be equal to 0.4 hours per unit per change times 980 changes, and that's going to give me 392 hours. Okay. Number 3, what if there had been 970 oil changes in June, would the standard quantities of oil and of direct labor hours be higher or lower? What would the new ones be? So since actual is reduced by 10 oil changes, SQ and SH will be reduced. Okay, so SQ would be 6.2 quarts per change times 970 changes, and that would equal 6,014 quarts. And this should be SQ. SH is going to be 0.4 hours per change times 970 changes. That's going to equal 388 hours. Okay, so this is part 3. Now, brief exercise 9.2, we're using the same information. They want us to calculate the materials price variance and the materials usage variance. Here is the actual information. Okay, so to calculate the direct materials price, AQ, AP minus SP times AQ is the way they're doing it. AP, $5.10. SP is $5.05. Should be a $sign. Times 6,020 quarts. So that is per quart. That is per quart. So that's 5 cents. 5 cents times the 6,020 should give you $3.01 unfavorable. So before I ever calculated it, I knew it was going to be unfavorable because actual was greater than the standard allowed. So this is how I would normally work the problem. I would find values for the variables. They didn't give us an amount purchased. We're assuming that purchased and used is the same. So that was 6,020 quarts. AP was $5.10 per quart. SP is $5.05 per quart. SQ, which we're going to need for the usage variance, 6.2 quarts per change times, how many changes were there? We're back to the 980. Yes, 980. So that equals, what we have, 392. Is that what we had up here? Yeah, 392. Oh, no, up here. Yep, 6,076 quarts is what we should have used. Okay, so we've done this one. Now we need to do the materials quantity variance. So what's the difference between quantities? So AQ was 6,020 quarts. SQ was 6,076 quarts times an SP of 505 per quart. And that's going to give us favorable or unfavorable. Actual was less than standard. So we know it's going to be favorable. And then we have to have the dollar amount. And that's going to be $282.80. Oops. Now, the reason I'm using the type of input we have, quarts of oil, and I'm going to be using hours, is to show you we should end up with just dollars, okay? Because this is going to go into a journal entry. Since this variance is favorable, we're going to credit the materials usage variance. We're debiting work in process for SQ times SP, okay? Then the total materials variance, we can calculate it one of two ways. We can do AQ times AP minus SQ times SP. Doesn't make any difference which order you put these in, which is going to give you $18.20 unfavorable. So I could plug the numbers in like this, or I can do 301 unfavorable plus 282.80 favorable. $282.80 favorable, and that gives me $18.20 unfavorable. Okay. Then what if the actual number of quarts of oil purchased in June had been 6,100 quarts, and the materials price variance was calculated at the time of purchase? What would be the materials price variance and the materials usage variance? Okay, so AQ purchased was 6,100. AQ used was 6,020. Is that correct? Yeah. 6,020. AP was the $5.10. SP was the $5.05. SQ was 6.2 times 780, which equals the same number, 6,076. Is that what we had? 6,076. Okay, so the price variance is based on the amount purchased. So that number was,
I think it was 980, so I got a little bit of a lower number.
980. Oh, yes, it was. Sorry.
So it was 4,836.
$6,076. Isn't that what we had for SQ?
Oh, okay. I don't know. I put 7.
Okay.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So AQ purchased was 6,100 times $5.10 minus $5.05. So it's going to be unfavorable because we paid more than we should have. And the dollar amount is 0.05 times 6,100, which is 305 unfavorable. The usage variance will not change because it's based on AQ used always. So the only one that's going to change is the AQ purchased. Okay. Then next one, we're going to be doing the same thing, but this time we're going to be doing it with labor. Okay. So actual hours worked was 386. Actual rate, $14.50. No, 10 cents. Standard rate, $14. SQ, 0.4 hours, times 980, which was the 386, 392, 392. Okay. Now you will note that in here I have this additional variable. Okay. That is actual costs incurred. The reason I have that is that sometimes a problem does not give you both actual quantity and actual price. It will give you one of these and then the actual cost incurred. So you're going to have to divide this actual cost by the one that they're giving you. And this is not AQ divided by AP. This is an AQ or AH. This is an AP or an AR. Okay, depending on, I just tend to leave them all as P's. From a psychological perspective, I don't want to think that I'm having to memorize another formula. Okay. So I'm just trying to emphasize that those two things are the same. All right. So the labor rate variance is going to be the difference between actual and standard hours. So actual amount used was 386 hours times AP of 1410 minus SP of $14. Actual was greater than standard, so we know it's going to be unfavorable. 20 cents times the 386.
It's 10 cents, Professor.
Sorry, 1410 is 38.60. Okay. Then for the efficiency variance, actual hours are 386. Standard hours allowed were 392 times 392 times standard of $14. So 6 times 14. $84. Favorable or unfavorable?
Favorable.
Favorable because
Favorable.
actual was less than standard. Okay. Then the total variance, since we've already calculated these, I would do the 38.60 unfavorable plus 84 favorable to give me $45.40. Favorable. And you should get the same thing if you take actual cost minus standard cost allowed. Okay. What if the actual wage rate paid in June was $12.40? What impact would that have had on the direct labor rate variance? Did it go up or down? It went down, so it would make the rate variance better. Improve the rate variance would have no impact on the efficiency variance. Okay. So you have to zero out the variances at the end of the accounting period. So to zero it out, if it's small or immaterial, you're zeroing it all out to cost of goods sold. A favorable variance has a credit balance. So to zero it out, we're going to have to debit it and credit cost of goods sold. Okay. If it is material, we're going to allocate it to work in process, finished goods, and cost of goods sold based on the prime costs that are in each of these three accounts. Prime cost is direct materials plus direct labor. So you're going to do the allocation based on those costs. Okay. So we will pick up from here on Monday. We have to do the overhead variances yet. The overhead variances are under a 4-way, 3-way, 2-way. So you need to pay attention to which way you were doing it. The formulas are different. The 4-way, you're using the 2 for variable overhead. We're using 2 for fixed overhead that we haven't talked about yet, which are different. Then you can collapse it into 3-way, and then you can collapse it into 2-way. And we're going to be looking at applied overhead and that flexible budget to be doing those variances. Okay, we finish up chapter 5 on Monday. So make sure you've started looking at this. Chapter 8 homework should be due this weekend. So start working on the chapter homework so that if you have any questions, you can contact me before the weekend. Okay. So that's it for today. Thank you all for being here, and try and stay cool. It's supposed to be hot all the way through the weekend. Maybe next week we'll get some rain. Let's hope so. So take care, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome.